Hello everyone, welcome to the When It Worked podcast. You're with your host Julia Leahy. Today I'm joined by the fantastic Jay Johnson and Albino Sanchez. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you, Julian.
Okay, we know what to expect. We've had a bit of a chat. They are aware they're about to play a game of Jeoparty. And Jay, you can kick things off. The categories are Solve for X. It's about famous exes and their ex-girlfriends and exes. Go South. I know that word backwards. Mesopotamia. The De Niro Code, which is just all about Robert De Niro. Want ads. Can't remember.
All right. I think I'll start with the De Niro Code for 100, Julian.
Let's take a look. The De Niro Code. Okay, we've already got a glitch on the HTML. There we go. As Al Capone in this 1987 film, you can get further with a kind word and a gun than you can with just a kind word. What movie? Any idea? As Al Capone. 1987 film? Oh, that's an old one.
Struggling.
I'll give you a clue. I think it also had Kevin Costner.
The Untouchables?
Might have gone. Yeah, it is correct. All right. 100 for Jay. Well done. You're on the board. Would you like another De Niro Code or something else?
Let's go De Niro Code for 200.
In this 1976 movie, here is a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum. Does anyone know that one? I know that one. Robert De Niro. Early. This is early. It's a Scorsese movie.
It's something Bull. Sitting Bull?
Albino, do you have any idea?
Taxi driver.
Let's take a look. Taxi Driver is correct. Well done, Albino, for 200. And you're in control. What would you like, Albino? Solve for X, Go South. I know that word backwards. Mesopotamia, the De Niro Code, or Want ads.
Let's go for Solve for X for 100.
Playboy playmate Crystal Harris called off her June 2011 nuptials to this 85-year-old just days before the wedding. What 85-year-old would have been getting married to a Playboy playmate in 2011?
I'll have to pass on this one.
Who is Hugh Hefner?
It's got to be the dirty old man himself. Rest in peace. 100 points for Jay. The guy went out with a bang. Jay, what would you like?
I know that word backwards for 100.
I know that word backwards. Anatomy-wise, the subscapularis is a muscle in this cuff. Subscapularis. That sounds... Yeah. Cuff. What do you have? What bone is referred to as a cuff?
The rotator? Shoulder?
Ah, let's have a look. That makes sense. The rotator. Well done, Jay. 100 points. What would you like?
Let's do Mesopotamia for 100.
Mesopotamia for 100. After centuries of rule by the Ottoman Empire, Mesopotamia mostly became part of this new nation in 1932.
What is Turkey?
I think that sounds a lot. Oh, actually, it's Iraq. I won't take any points off. You're still in control for another attempt. Jay, what would you like?
Let's do Go South for 100.
Go south for 100. To 90 degrees south latitude, and you'll find yourself here. To 90 degrees south latitude. So 90 degrees is like a... Is that a right angle? How can it be? The only thing I would guess is the old south of the border, but who knows?
Let's just go with the equator.
The South Pole. You are in control, Albino. What would you like?
All right, let's go with want ads for 100.
Number crunchers needed. Must be a member of the AICPA, the American Institute of these. What job is this? CPA, number cruncher.
Accountant.
That's what I reckon. Yes, that is correct. Well done, Albino. You're at 100 points. Still in control. What would you like?
I'll go again with want ads.
Want
for
ads
200.
for 200. Walk the Max Planck, where Stephen Hawking a new position to be this type of scientist like those guys. Walk the Max Planck. Stephen Hawking, what type of scientist was he?
An inventor.
Jay, any idea?
I'll go with physicist.
Let's take a look. Physicist is correct. Well done, Jay. 200 points, and you have wrestled control back. What would you like?
Let's go with... I know that word backwards for 200.
I know that word backwards. To make an allusion to something. So it must be one of those words that can be read backwards. What do you call that? To make an allusion. Allude to something. I got no. This is tricky. Any idea?
Yeah. No idea.
Let's take a look. Refer. There you go. See, it spells refer backwards as well. Okay. All right. You're still in control, Jay.
Let's do want ads for 300.
Want ads for 300. They're out there. We need you to go get them. Channel your inner Boba Fett or Dog Chapman in this 2-word job.
Bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter is correct. Jay for 300. Well done. What would you like?
Let's do the De Niro code for 300.
The De Niro code. To Billy Crystal in this film. I was going to whack you, but I was real conflicted about it.
Analyze this.
Analyze this is correct. Well done, Jay. Jay is on fire. 300 points there. What would you like, Jay?
Let's go south for 200.
Go south for 200 to this Indiana college town that was originally called Big St. Joseph Station. Indiana. Is that in Indianapolis? Indiana college town. Pretty obscure question. I have no idea.
No clue.
Let's take a look. South Bend. Okay, so it's got to have South in its name. That's going to give us a clue going forward. Albino, you're back in the mix. What would you like?
Okay, Mesopotamia, 200.
Mesopotamia, 200. Mesopotamia stretched from the Taurus Mountains in the north to this gulf in the south. Mesopotamia. Taurus Mountains to this gulf. What's the gulf in? What do you got?
Persian
Gulf. Let's take a look. The Persian. Well done, Albino. 200 points. Still in control. What would you like?
Go south for 300.
Go south for 300 to Juba, capital of this new nation. Somewhere south. South something. New nation. What new nation? Oh, this is south.
No, I don't know.
Never heard of Juba. Let's take a look.
No.
South Sudan. Okay. Still in control, Albino. What would you like?
Let's go again with Mesopotamia. 300.
Mesopotamia for 300. The epic poem of this Sumerian king includes an account of a great flood. Epic poem. Also, I think
I don't know.
you know those ancient stories, and they remade them into a movie with George Clooney. Oh brother, where art thou? It's either
No idea.
Ulysses or Homer? That's what I think. Oh,
Yeah,
it's totally barking up the wrong tree. Did you have an idea, Jay?
No, not on this one.
Okay, you're in control now, Jay. What would you like?
Let's go with want ads for 400.
Want ads for 400. In June 3, 2011 paper, this country wants new president after bomb explodes in Ali Saleh's presidential palace. President.
Let's go with.
Take your pick. In the Middle East, I guess.
Yeah, let's go with.
Although it's a palace, that's a clue.
Saudi Arabia.
Yemen. Still in control, Jay. What would you like?
Let's go with. I know that word backwards for 300.
Okay. Reza Khan, born in Iran in 1878, and his son were these for a combined 54 years. I got there. I think. I was going to say Exile, but that doesn't work backwards. Banished, imprisoned, jailed.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, let's take a look. Shahs. Okay. I don't even know what a Shah is. Some sort of royal title. Albino, you are in control. What would you like?
Okay, I'd like solve for the X for 200.
Solve for the X 200. After 11 years of marriage, she and David Arquette announced a trial separation in 2010. Now, David Arquette is it the brother of Courtney Arquette or Courtney Cox? Is that right? Or were they married?
I was gonna say, I think Courtney Cox was
the answer, or
maybe.
Or is that her brother? Let's take a look, see if Jay's got this one. Courtney Cox is correct. Well done, Jay. 200 points. Jay's been reading the magazines at the supermarket. What would you like?
Let's try the De Niro code for 400.
De Niro code. In Italian, in this sequel, do me this favor, ask your friends about me. They'll tell you I know how to return a favor. It's a sequel, and it has Italian language in it, and it has Robert De Niro in it.
The Godfather.
Do you want to just finish that off?
Part 2.
Okay, let's take a look. Saving you, Jay. 400 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. What would you like next?
Let's go with Mesopotamia for 400.
Mesopotamia, 400. Transcribed in the 1800s, this Behuston inscription is the Rosetta Stone for this type of writing developed in Mesopotamia.
Sanskrit.
Suniform. Never heard of that. Still in control. Have you heard of that, Albino?
No.
No, okay. You're still in control, Jay. What would you like?
Go south for 400.
Go south for 400 to this body of water that includes the Gulf of Tonkin and the Gulf of Thailand. Body of water in the south. What do we call it? Southeast
South
Asia.
China Sea.
Say it again.
I said I don't know. South China Sea.
Incredible, Jay.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A lucky guess.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a bit of logic there. It was in the area. What would you like next?
Solve for X for 300.
Solve for X for 300. In 2011, this Dancing with the Stars alum and second man on the moon filed for divorce from his third wife, the only astronaut still alive, I think, from the original Moonwalk team.
I got a 50-50 chance here. Buzz Aldrin.
Let's take a look. I think that's got to be it. Buzz Aldrin is correct. Well done, Jay. 1, 2, 3. What would you like next? On a tear.
Let's do Solve for X for 400.
Solve for X. I think he's worked out this category's good. This singer-songwriter said his tweeting too much was an issue in his breakup with Jennifer Aniston. Singer-songwriter that had a bit of a fling with Jennifer Aniston.
Justin Timberlake?
Albino, have you got any idea? He's a guitarist. Plays a lot of blues. A white dude. That's what I think.
No, I don't know.
Let's take a look. John Mayer. Okay, now I think you got another attempt left, Jay. What would you like?
Let's do Solve for X for 500 and close that category.
Okay, she found new love with Frederick Thibode, the man whose wife supposedly broke up her marriage to Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange's like a famous music producer, like he's German or Dutch, and he did a lot of really big records in America. Oh, I think I know who this is.
I've got nothing.
Okay, and she's got like black hair. She's very pretty, and she had a song that don't impress me much. That don't impress me much. Is it getting any memories?
No.
Initials ST.
Shania Twain?
There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Got a little help on that.
Little liberal on the clues there. What would you like, Jay?
Let's go south for 500.
Go south for 500 to hear where you'll find the cities of Christchurch and Dunedin.
That would be New Zealand.
New Zealand is correct. I know that one. It's just to the right of me. Oh, well. We're in the south category. Should we give it to him? Right. South Island of New Zealand. What do you reckon, Albino?
No.
What a charitable man.
Thanks, Albino.
Okay, Jay, what would you like?
Wantads for 500.
Wantads for 500. We have a primary need for this hyphenated job in our fancy French kitchen. Only the head guy is your superior.
The sous chef.
How did you know that? Well done. Jay's got a chance of closing out the board here. What would you like?
The De Niro code for 500.
The De Niro code for 500. Good fellas, the two greatest things in life are never rat on these and always keep your mouth shut.
Friends.
Your Friends is correct for 500. Keep going, Jay. Nearly there.
Mesopotamia for 500.
From the Assyrian for height, this stepped structure was used as a temple by Mesopotamian cultures.
Say pyramid?
That's what I was thinking. Ziggurat. All right, continuing on, Jay.
I'm going to need to study my Mesopotamian history here.
I know a word backwards and forwards for 400. Coloring something more rubicund makes it this. This helps if you know a bit of French. I think it sounds like a color to me.
I'm going to hand it over to my friend Albino here.
Albino,
I got nothing.
What color would it be if you made it more rubicund?
It'd be red.
That's what I think. Let's take a look. 400 points. Red is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Albino knew a few more of these. And last one. Here's your last chance to close it off. Exalted to the rank of a god. And this is in the category I know that word backwards and forwards. So it's got to make the same word if you read it backwards. Exalted to the rank of a god. So what? Angel, spirit. Oh, it's a tough one, this, because let's take a look. Deified. Yeah, that's extremely difficult. And well, we have finished the game, and Jay has he went on a tear there, and he's won the game. Well done, Jay, and thanks Albino for playing. And let's kick Albino off, give him a chance to speak. Tell us a bit about what you're doing in terms of coaching, and tell us a bit about your journey.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Julian. Nice to meet you, Jay. Well, I've been in my career, I've been a consultant, a business consultant, and I've also been managing a couple of businesses in several industries, and I've been a strategic planning manager and director. And I realized that companies were not really following through the implementations we did as consultants. And I was concerned about it because there were big projects, 1 or 2 years long. We implemented, frameworks, software. We wanted to transform organizations, and after we left as consultants, and then we follow up on them, we realized that all that effort was disappeared. So I started to research and ask about what's happening. What I realized is that sometimes organizations do things because they think that's the right thing to do, but not necessarily they are really committed, especially leadership, especially management. And I realized that some few companies really followed through, and those were the ones that had the CEOs that were really committed with the project, that they were people-centered, they really they were in charge of culture. So that's where I got this this inspiration that I need to work with leaders that have this approach, this vision, this way of working, so that with them I could transform organizations. And what's the best way to transform? Because leaders are the ones who really drive change in organizations. And what's one of the best ways to help leaders do this? I realized it was coaching. Because you can train people, but then that's gonna wear off. You can ask them to do something, but if they don't really are convinced, that's also gonna wear off, etc. But if they have a leader that's really inspiring and really takes them on board, etc., then this is gonna really have a lasting change. So that's how I started learning about coaching. I got certified, and I became a coach, and I've been coaching for almost 10 years, and it's been a great journey.
And you talk about the CEO's secret weapon, the art of turning ideas into reality. What is it about that we need to know to actually execute ideas?
Yeah. When we talk about execution, we usually have this like two sides of the same coin. From one side, we have the vision, we have the ideas, we have the plans, all right, and the other side, we have the execution. But many times the difficult part is in the execution, because it requires people to do things that they are not usually doing. It requires new processes, it requires new skills, etc. So I think that the key is to prepare the team for that change, for that implementation, for that execution. So we need to communicate correctly, we need to train if necessary, we need to ask for any concerns, issues, and address those. And so that's called change management. So we need to manage change, through proven processes of change management, and I think that's the way you can turn ideas into reality.
And who do you mostly work with, Albino?
I mostly work with medium and large size organizations. I prefer to work with CEOs that have this approach I was telling you about. CEOs that are people-centered, customer-centric, and that they know that organizational culture is their responsibility, not the human resources department responsibility. So that's my kind of client.
And do you mostly work in with European companies, or who do you mostly work with location wise?
Well, I'm based in Palo Alto, California, and so I prefer to work with U.S. companies, but nowadays we do a lot of virtual or remote work. So I can work with English-speaking organizations or Spanish-speaking organizations. I'm from Mexico,
Oh,
Mexico
okay.
City.
I thought you were from
Yeah.
Spain. All right, wonderful. And if people want to get in touch with you, Albino, I've got your URL in the show notes. And what normally happens from there if somebody wants to have a conversation with you?
Sure. The best way to contact me is through LinkedIn. You can find me in linkedin.com/in/Albino Sanchez. Albino is spelled Albino. And once you reach out to me, we can set up a meeting, a virtual meeting where we can have a discovery call, and learn a little bit about your challenges, and explore if I can help you with something. So I'll be happy to have a chat.
Wonderful. I'll put all those links in the show notes as well. And thank you very much, Albino. And we're going to have a chat with Jay now. Jay, a bit of a behaviorist. Tell us a bit about this. Why is this something we need to understand in terms of business?
Yeah, I actually love what Albino said about the leaders and being able to actually engage and live the behaviors that he's coaching to. That's so essential. So my background's in behavioral science. I study psychology, neuroscience, and communication as part of a trio to help people shift and understand where their behaviors are coming from. So kind of come from the philosophy is behaviors, the core of all success and failure. We have thoughts and we have feelings, but those things can just wash over us. However, by learning to manage our behaviors through behaving intelligently, we can actually affect real cultural change. So what we try to do is through training and through our behavioral elements assessment, we actually help people understand what is driving their behavior and then help them learn to essentially cultivate new behaviors that are going to lead to success.
Do you think that we as people can actually change? Should we change, or should we just lean into our personalities? How do we change behavior, and should we?
Yeah, so yes, I do think that we can change, and the science really backs this up. It's the concept of neuroplasticity in the brain. So if you were to think about it, most people brush their teeth with one hand. If you were to switch hands, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel awkward. And for about 2 weeks, you're probably going to stab yourself in the gums 100 times. However, over the course of that time, you're actually creating new neural pathways. So you can actually recreate and reshape different parts of your brain. From a practical side of things, it is all about understanding what behavior is going to get me the best possible outcomes and how do I cultivate the behaviors within that context. We do encourage people to lean into their strengths and lean into their passions. Each of us has the 4 drives, the drive to acquire, the drive to learn, the drive to bond, and the drive to defend as part of like the behavioral elements assessment. But with that being said, we can learn to navigate certain behaviors in certain contexts. If we over rely on one set of behaviors, ultimately we're not necessarily fulfilling our capacity as a human.
And what are some of these, I guess, desirable behaviors that people are wanting to acquire?
Yeah, so I'll use the context that Albino had set up, working with CEOs. A lot of them are going to have a very strong drive to acquire. That's the fire element. So they're going to want to win. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be really kind of focused. But to Albino's point, how do we create more people-centric? I'll give you an example of myself. I am a fire element. I am very competitive. And over the course of COVID, I taught my 10-year-old nephew how to play chess. Now, as somebody that's kind of studied this, I've still never let my 10-year-old nephew win. And as I was playing one day, I'm looking at my phone and I move my queen and take my hand off of it. You ever have one of those moments where you made a mistake? I had that moment right then and there. My nephew looks at the board, looks at me, and wipes my queen off. My hands started to sweat. My heart started to race. My throat started to tighten. I had these thoughts of, we'll bump the board and we'll start over. Now, I didn't do that. I chose a different behavioral pathway. Instead of activating my drive to acquire that highly competitive piece, I activated my drive to bond. And I looked at my nephew and I said, nice move, buddy. You might have me this time. Because in that context, the relationship was more important than winning. So being able to understand where those, now he did screw up and I ended up winning anyways, but that's not the point. The whole point here is we choose behaviors that'll ultimately drive our success. And when we understand the drives that are behind them, it helps us understand where those thoughts and feelings are coming from.
One of the soft skills I think that people really want to learn and need to learn is managing people, dealing with people, and dealing with difficult people. What are some of the ways that we can do that?
Albino, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, labeling people as difficult people, I think that's a tricky thing to do. What do we mean by that, right? Maybe that person is experiencing fear or insecurity, or because maybe we are creating that for that person. So we need to be very, careful when we talk about people that are difficult. And I think that we should first address what's affecting that person. Let's be curious about it. Let's ask questions. Let's and see if we find what's the root cause, and from there we can work with that person. That's what I would do. What about you?
I 100% jump on board with that. That is very insightful, coming at something with curiosity. In my TEDx talk in 2018, it was about dealing with difficult people. And the thing that I really try to stress is it's your heart attack, and somebody else's behavior should not be the cause of your heart attack. In order to be able to have a conversation with a difficult person, we have to first be able to manage our own internal state. If we come into it, just like Albino said, thinking this is a difficult person or this person's a pain in the you-know-what, we're going to behave in a way that positions them exactly the way that we've labeled them. So being able to take a step back and say, okay, breathe, get my limbic system under control, be able to think more rationally and logically. One of the things that I really encourage people to do is find something about that person that you have commonality with or common ground with, something that you can look at and say, I really admire and respect this person. That's going to help you shift a mindset that will then create the conditions for you to find pathways towards navigating some of those difficulties.
One of my favorite books is a very old book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you read this book? And
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, it's incredible in terms of being like a playbook for managing people, communicating people, to not create barriers when and conflict, and how to get people to do what you want while having them like you. And if you are in a people management, even with just your marriage, and the kids, getting the kids to do what you want them to do, I think it's an absolutely incredible book. And this type of stuff, this behavioral science, there is a lot of really great soft skills that you can develop. And these are things that a lot of us have problems with, and for some of us, it's harder than others. I will say that. Some people hit those trigger reactions a lot harder than others, and it requires a lot more work. But it's a fascinating area, and I think it's great. All right. So what can people expect if they go over to behavioral elements? I must have put up the wrong page there.
Yeah, so on the behavioral elements page, you can actually take the assessment. You can take the assessment for free and learn what your primary drive is. So that's something that you can explore on your own, but it's going to give you an idea of what the core drives are. There we go. That looks good. We also have it in multiple languages. So, but yeah, you can take that assessment. It's absolutely free. It'll give you your primary element and give you an idea of what some of those driving behaviors or what some of those motivations are underlying that surface of how we act and how we choose to show up every single day.
And how do you deliver services? If somebody wants to work with you, is it a one-on-one, or do you work with corporate clients as a whole?
Yeah, so what we actually do is a couple of different things. I actually don't do a lot of individual coaching. I much prefer to work with teams and organizations, and that's part of what the value of the behavioral elements assessment is we can actually look at an entire management team or an entire sales team or an entire corporation. So we work with a lot of big companies like Ford, Nikon, Stellantis, and we've also worked with really small non-governmental organizations and nonprofits. But we really like to work in that team space to help people understand each other's behaviors to then produce high performance teams and high performance cultures.
Wonderful. So we've had some great value from Joe Johnson and Albino Sanchez. And if you want to follow up with them, Albino's on LinkedIn. I'll put the rest of the contacts in the show notes so you can follow up with the guests. Thank you very much, Jay Johnson and Albino Sanchez.
Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, and thanks for listening and watching, everyone. I'm going to wrap things up.